Hey there, it's Faith Talk Live. I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
And I'm Ezra Ortiz.
And we are so glad to be joined by one of our favorite people on earth, mainly one of my favorite people because of the way she wields her spiritual gift of sarcasm. It's Lisa Anderson from from boundless.org and Focus on the Family. Lisa, thanks for joining us.
Well, Dan, it is great to be here, and hopefully my sarcasm will be in full form today. So we'll see.
We hope so, because that's one of the things I love about you is your sarcasm. So, Lisa, let's start with we're gonna talk a little bit about Christmas and how inflation and all just the wonderful economy that we have right now is affecting Christmas. But we'll get to that in just a minute. But let's talk about the Anderson family Christmas, or Christmas of the Anderson household, however you want to put it. What do you usually do? And you told us before we went on that you already celebrated a little bit. Tell us what's going on in the Anderson household.
Yeah, so now that both of my parents are gone, it's gotten weird, and I don't think we have even really settled on what we do at this point, because now us siblings are a little bit far flung. So I've got and I have one sister and her family in Atlanta, which is, y'all, I'll have to stop and visit you, but I mean, busiest airport in the world or whatever.
Yes. It's always fun.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of felt like I needed a hard pass on that. And then, then I have a significant number of family that's up in northern Minnesota. So that airport for me would be Fargo. Another hard pass on that. And I told them, you know what, I'm going to see you in June. Let's plan on that. So I was like, forget it. And then there are a couple of us here who are local, but of course my other siblings are married. And so they have obligations with extended family and in-laws and all that. So it gets kind of weird. So what I determined this time, it used to be, because our family is Scandinavian, we would have this kind of Scandinavian celebration, which I'm not even sure that's totally legit, because who wants to sit around and eat stinky goat cheese and whatever, string things out of straw? I don't know, not me. But we used to do that, actually. And then now we just kind of see, well, does someone want to host? Do some of us want to get together? And so, last week, actually, my Atlanta family came out here to experience a little pre-Colorado Christmas.
Hey,
fortunately, the weather was doable for them. So we had some pretty iconic mountain experiences, and they felt very good about heading back to the South after they were done with that. So for Christmas itself, I'm actually going to be here, and I have several other friends that I'll be hanging out with. So I'm looking forward to that.
Good. Awesome. Well, Lisa, we want to talk to you about Christmas. You talked a little bit on the Boundless podcast recently about, how inflation has kind of affected Christmas and shopping, and just makes you overwhelmed because of the cost of everything. I went to the store the other day. I got to complain because I went to the store the other day to buy an 18-pack of eggs. It was $9 for an 18-pack of eggs.
Outrageous. Put it on your Christmas list, Dan. Have someone just gift it to you. There's an idea right there for you. I need straight up groceries this year.
Yeah. So you are talking about how in the world can parents or anybody afford gifts that you can hardly afford day-to-day essentials. So let's talk about some gift ideas and how you can afford them.
Yeah. Well, and it does take a little bit of creativity and a little bit of thought. And of course, we're heading into Christmas here, so I'm sure many people are in panic mode.
Yeah.
Maybe they're like, haven't really even started. And I'm really, exactly. So I feel like a lot of them are like, boy, Amazon better come through for me or whatever, scanning through all the lists. But there are some creative ways to make it happen. And first off, I mean, again, if you can have the conversation with your family and even extended family or friends about, well, what does it look like? One of the great money saving ideas is to do a gift exchange instead of the obligatory, I need to buy a gift for everyone.
Right.
Because when you're talking about like father-in-laws and stuff, I mean, it gets tricky. I mean, you're like, what in the world? I cannot get you another soap on a rope. I can't get you another pair of socks. I can't, my brother-in-law, it's like every year he gets some kind of like flavored nuts or something, because it's like no one knows what to get him. Yeah. So I always say, if you can do an exchange and make it fun or draw names or whatever, that's a great way to cut down on cost, and it levels the playing field, and everyone can can kind of get involved with that. The other great cost-saving idea is to do family gifts. So again, rather than every single person in the family, come up with a creative family gift. And that could be as simple as like a board game that you're going to give and a new thing for the family to experience, or using the word experience, get a family an experience. So this is the gift that keeps on giving. So I'm talking like a museum or a zoo pass that they're going to be able to use through the whole year. And then it's like one and done. Just got that for the family. Or take them to an escape room or something where you can create some memories, and everyone can even go in on that gift. It can just be like, you know what, as a family, here's what we're going to do this year, or we're going to save up and do a fun camping trip this summer, and we're going to start planning for that and anticipating it or whatever. So kind of putting the gift together as more of a group experience is a great way to do it. One of the other ideas that I think is super killer for doing gifts, especially individual gifts, is give the gift of a skill of yours. So this is what I always tell, like, especially my Boundless peeps, because they're young adults who don't have a lot of money. And I'm like, here's what you do have. Things that your parents and your grandparents don't, and you have skills that they don't have or just don't want to deal with.
How to use an iPhone, for instance.
How to use an iPhone. And a 1-hour iPhone training session is a great thing to gift an older, a boomer or above. Or how about, for all the parents and grandparents who are listening and watching right now, give this as a gift idea to your young adults or even your teens in your life, because what about organizing your digital photos into files and editing them, cropping them, getting some kind of order to them, or possibly making some digital music playlists for you off of your old, I know many of you don't want to let go of your vinyl. You don't want to let go. I mean, it's a hard sell. I know it is, but sometimes you just want to listen to something in the car. That is a great thing for a Gen Zer, or even a millennial to do for you. So again, utilizing those skills. On the flip side of it, what about that young mom in your life or that young adult? And you can maybe give them, older women, okay, let's just say mature women, maybe a cooking lesson on how to actually cook a real meal, like using real ingredients that doesn't involve the words DoorDash. That is a great idea for a gift for someone. Again, you're imparting knowledge, wisdom, and it is a relational experience that you're having with that person and creating a memory in that. So those are just a few of the directions that you can go when you're thinking of things like this.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm a big fan of escape rooms, like those experience type things. I absolutely love that stuff. And it's funny when you were mentioning, the cooking skills. I was like, I actually would love that. I was just thinking the other day, we just had our Christmas party yesterday at, over here, at Salem, and I brought some Puerto Rican rice. I'm Puerto Rican, and so I brought some of that to share with the staff. And I was thinking, I was like, man, there's a lot of recipes that my grandma probably knows. Shout out to my grandma if she's listening to this.
Yep.
But that my grandma knows or that my mom knows, that I'm like, I would love to learn how to do that, but it's going to take a lot more than just me reading the recipe. I'd love to have someone here to show me how to do that. So that's a great one.
Ezra, I totally had that. Like, I had a coworker, one of my employees, who one year gave me her family. I want to say they're from El Salvador, but they do a homemade salsa. And she gifted me some of that. And I'm like, I'm basically needing you to give this to me every year at this point. Like, let me just tell you what to do. So that's one. I have another friend who does sourdough bread. That is an intense, long process with like bread starters and stuff
nobody's
that I
got
can't
time
even.
for that.
No one has time. Well, this friend does. I'll give you her name. Okay, so here. So I was like, there is your gift for me every year. Just do that. And even some easier, like more common skills, like a younger adult or someone, or an older adult, even for the younger families, can gift babysitting. I mean, you can gift car repair, car washes, for, again, there are just so many creative ways of doing this. I even here's a gift I gave one year to a friend. She cannot stand, I'm a writer, and it just sends her over the edge, even crafting an email, like to invite people to a party. So she was trying to move some of her stuff on like Facebook Marketplace or eBay or whatever. I gave her 2 hours of my time to craft those listings for her and post them.
Wow.
And she's like, oh my word, that's like amazing. You know what she did for me in return? She full on did the refi of my house for me, because there's something I can't stand, is getting into
I
all
think
these
you got
numbers.
the better end of that deal.
Oh, it was so awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
because she loves it. She loves research. She loves haggling. She loves pitting mortgage companies against one another.
Wow.
And she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that for you because I know you can't stand it. And I'm like, yeah, you're so right. I can't stand it. Yeah.
And that's so good too, because, you know, it kind of cuts against the materialism, commercialism that already surrounds this time of year. And so to just give someone the gift of your time, your energy,
Presence,
your talent, all that type of stuff is just so key.
Mhm.
And so, you know, the whole reason why we're even talking about this is because obviously the economy is just in a tough spot right now, and things are looking really tough. I wonder if we can shift gears a little bit and talk a little. Maybe you can just share just some hope to people that are just really struggling right now. You know, we can make all the jokes that we want about, you know, eggs costing, what do you say, $9?
$9.
That's insane.
For an
Okay,
18
we
pack.
can, you know, but obviously those are real numbers, and for some people it's just really tough making it paycheck to paycheck. So I just wonder if you could maybe just share a little bit of hope for people that are struggling, especially during this time of year, Lisa.
Yeah. And it's great that you brought that up, Ezra, because I always, you know, sometimes I irritate my friends and family by getting way into goals for the new year. I love looking at a new year and thinking like, okay, what do I want to do differently? What's on my bucket list? How do I want to grow? Whatever. But the fact is, it is because a new year is always a fresh start, and there's always hope to it. And I think we often look back on the year that we're in as like, this was horrible, and I maxed out my credit cards, and this is where I failed, and this is what is so hard for me right now. But I think ultimately, like when we think of and when we can collectively share experiences and enter into even hardship with one another, you know, I mean, even the Bible itself says we're called to rejoice with those who rejoice and to weep with those who weep. I think this is a great opportunity too for people who do have a little more squirreled away, or they're just kind of the person that, you know, they're in a good place with a good job, whatever. This is our opportunity to look around us and say, who is God calling me to bolster right now, and to really make that, this might be my part. You know, we talked about my family traditions. One of my family traditions that my mom did was those gift lists where you gave to, whether it was indigenous peoples, you know, she would gift us or gift an unreached people group a goat on our behalf, you know, and you would have it with my name, and that I was giving a goat to a family in Bangladesh or something like that. And again, talk about something meaningful that's going to take you into the new year. So even take that locally of like, what does it look like? In fact, my church is doing this right now. They sent out an email to church members and said, we have got our deacons fund is in a surplus right now, and we need the names of people that you know in our church or outside of our church who could benefit from some gift cards, who are just struggling this season. And so again, thinking that through, even going out and maybe purchasing a few extra gift cards and just finding those people that are like, oh man, I'm really in a tough spot, and being willing to extend that grace. And for those who are struggling and are in a harder spot, sometimes it just means kind of gathering that family close and being like, you know what, this year, here's what this looks like. I mean, again, all the memories that I think back on are about spending time with family and going out, or being like, you know what, tonight we're going to pile in the car and we're going to go look at lights. And that's what we're doing. We're not going out. We're not spending money. We're not. But I think it's easy to look at the economy. It's easy to look at politics. It's easy and just think of it as a massive dumpster fire that we have no control over. And the truth is, well, I was just going to say, the truth is both of those things are true. There's a lot going on and you don't have control over it. And so the 10% of things in your life that you can control, that's what you take issue with. That's what you take on. That's what you work towards. That's what you invest in. And the rest of it is spent in releasing control, trusting God, loving others, and seeing what we can do to really marshal our energies and our resources and ride into the new year.
It's Lisa Anderson, the host of the Boundless Show, and from Focus on the Family. Lisa, if you've got a few more minutes, we'd love to keep you just talk a little bit about the show and what you've got going on. Again, she's with Focus on the Family, and right now, don't forget, you can give to Focus on the Family, and your gift will be matched through the end of the year because of generous donors. So help Focus on the Family continue to do the great work that they do. So, Lisa, the Boundless Show, what you got going on recently? What are some great shows that you've had that just really stuck out in your head?
Yeah, it's been so fun. And I just always, you guys, if you can believe it, coming up now in January, our show will be 15 years old.
Wow.
And I cannot even take credit for that.
Wow.
That was the team before me that at the very beginning of podcasting said, we're going to do a podcast called The Boundless Show. And so it's been a huge privilege. And so, but I often sit in the studio and I'm like, haven't we said everything that there is to say about dating? I mean, or about, and I always think this is played out. And then I meet some guest that's like amazing. And I'm like, I didn't know that. And tell me that story. And it's always, of course, this is, I'm sure, your experience too. You're like, when you've been in the biz, you're like, how can I hear all these stories and still glean something? So, so it is really cool. So one of the things that we are talking about, and we often talk about around the holidays, is how do you navigate relationships when you're going home to family or friends or the office Christmas party, especially for single young adults or singles. It's like, okay, how's your love life?
Are you married yet?
Do you have anyone special? Can I hook you up with someone? Can I? Right. And it just becomes, you're standing there with your eggnog and you're like, oh my word, are we really going to go here and stuff? And it's kind of like, it's always assumptive that you can have open season on single people and just ask them really weird questions where it's like, if we turned it around on the married people, it would get awkward pretty fast. Like when people are like, how's your love life? I feel like saying, I don't know, it's moving along, or not anyone in my life right now. But what I'd really love to hear about is your sex life. So let's talk about that.
That'd put a quash on that real quick, wouldn't
it? See where we go as we're all standing around the Christmas tree singing carols. So anyway, so we're definitely talking about that. We always do a fair amount around goals around this time of year. We always have fun with our inbox because those are actual listener questions that come into us. And so, for example, I think we have this week, the question is about what's an appropriate age gap in dating. So if you meet someone and you want to date them, but say, what if they're 5 years older than you? What about 7 years? What about 10 years? What about, we see celebrities doing it. Is this actually
40 years?
Is this actually viable? I mean, so that's a real question and a fun one that we've had. So it's always good. And we're always kind of getting ready for the new year and the excitement that's ahead and what we have to cover coming up. So,
it's the Boundless Show. You can hear it on WDWD. It's 590 a.m. Saturday evenings at 8:30, or you can always check out boundless.org and hear the podcast. I see that recently you did one about boomers, that boomers aren't all the bad.
Very true. That was a conversation. So that's another great example, a conversation around how do you communicate with, get along with, and honor other generations? And so we had in the studio a boomer, a millennial, a Gen Zer, and a Gen Xer, and all talking about, of course, how we all think that our generation's the best. And what does that
Gen
look
Xers
like?
are the best, but
pretty much. That's what I say. We're small but mighty. So, so kind of thinking through that, and then also kind of unveiling some of the stereotypes that we have, some of the prejudices. Of course, our boomer who was on was just like, these millennials and Gen Zers, they just don't want to work. They just want to like sit in a coffee shop and whatever. And then it's like the Gen Zers like, well, I'm the one that's answering your email at 11 p.m. when you've clocked out. And so it was a kind of a fun discussion of getting real about what does it look like to truly appreciate and honor one another.
Fun. Yeah. Be sure to check that out. Boundless.org. Lisa, thanks. So it's always so much fun to have you on. We need to do it more regularly.
We should. It's always super fun. And I hope that your Christmases are fantastic. And, if they're not great or the family gets weird, just come on out to Colorado and we'll hike Pikes Peak or something.
There we go.
Yeah. Are you expecting a white Christmas this year, Lisa? Or
a white Christmas?
Yeah.
So we need snow. We got a dusting of it last night. We haven't had enough, but here's what's terrifying. I just looked at the forecast. Colorado is, like I said, I have family in northern Minnesota. They have wicked winters.
Yeah.
Colorado is pretty idyllic and very like snow, but nice temps. Next week, I saw that we have a morning where we're going to have a low of 19 below zero.
Oh,
so
no, that's too cold.
That is not okay. I have got a cruise coming up in January that I've rescheduled 3 times since COVID. And let me just tell you, I'm leaning hard into that at this point. So I'm going to get out of here for a while. So.
I don't blame you. Wow. 19.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we're hoping to have a wet Christmas over here too. I don't know if
it'll never happen.
Well, my uncle sent me something the other day about, hey, look, there's a snowflake on the weather app, so maybe I don't know.
Not gonna happen.
You guys are going to have a flake. This is my sister. It's like a dusting of snow, and everyone just shuts down and like hunkers down, and they can't even go out because it's so terrifying. So I love it.
And eggs will be even more expensive then. So thanks so much for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly.
Lisa Anderson is boundless.org is where you can find out more, connect with her, and of course, focusonthefamily.org as well. Lisa, we appreciate you. Hope you have a great Christmas. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks much, guys.
We need to take a break. I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
And I'm Ezra Ortiz.
And you are listening to Faith Talk Live.